Goodnight Trump. I asked Isla to sign this, and this was the signature I got. So thanks, Isla.
What is it? Let me see. Oh, cute.
Goodnight Trump. Goodnight Trump. An unauthorized parody by totally failing New York Times. Best-selling authors Eric Oregon and Gan Golan, sad. Little Brown and Company. In the very classy room, there was a golden mirror and a silver spoon and a broadcast of, you have to look at the picture here closely, a half-baked story from a fake newsroom. Or Sean. And there were billionaires sending thoughts and prayers. Of course, that's all they've got. And a pair of manly mittens and 2 grabbable kittens. A big, beautiful wall and a Russian nesting doll. Now you really have to look at the details in these books. A golden seat for tweets in a rush.
Sorry.
And a pretty young bunny whom money has hushed.
Oh God.
Watch this bunny. See how she turns out in the book. Bunny is a clue. Good night, classy room. There's the classy room. There's Cadet Bone Spurs laying in bed there. Good night, heirloom clan costume.
Oh my gosh.
Good night, cowards kissing up to buffoon. That's underwear. Close up, banana Republicans. Good night, bizarre handshake. Good night, ketchup on a steak. Good night, torches for hate crimes, and good night, fine people on both sides. There he is with his ketchup. Good night, cabinet of whack jobs. Take a close look at this here. Destroy the thing you're in charge of. There's all the idiots there. Good night, White House. Run like the mob. Cha-ching. Good night, drilling in national parks. And good night, 7 sin check marks. List them off right there. He's good at all of them. Good night, undermined law of the land. And good night, gutted health care plan. Some of these are really sad pictures. That's one of them. Good night, 12 Diet Cokes a day, and good night, corrosive tooth decay. Good night, very stable genius. Good night, drawer full of subpoenas. Remember that, Mueller's coming. Good night, bromance with dictators. And good night, witch hunt investigators. Good night, democracy at risk. And good night, blame game politics. Everything points to Obama, you see. Good night, army of bots and trolls. And good night, hole in the man's child soul. Good night, ashamed Lady Liberty, and good night, shut out refugees. Good night, lies that never cease, and good night, gaslighter in chief. There he is, gaslighting. Good night, blacklisted football pros, and good night, towels thrown at Puerto Rico. Good night, tariffs and trade wars. Good night, button much bigger than yours. I think that's one of my favorite pages.
Wasn't the little butter knife for this in
Goodnight middle class bait and switch, and goodnight showers for the rich. There's your shower for the rich. Kind of a golden shower
Ooh,
thing.
wow.
Goodnight Bible stripped of meaning, and goodnight art of self-dealing. The art of the deal, my ass. Goodnight child held in cage. That's a powerful page. And goodnight I don't care outrage. Goodnight altered golden rule. And goodnight kids gone down in school. Some of these pages are just not that funny. Goodnight global climate shock. Goodnight ticking doomsday clock. Goodnight allies thrown under the bus. Donald doesn't want to hear anything. Goodnight the best people. That one's blank. Goodnight cover up brush. And good night to the young bunny who refused to be hush. Now we're going to see some action. Oh, there he is having trouble. Good night, swamp. Good night, troll. Good night, upended old glory. Good night, hole in the soul. Oh, now she's taking action. I told you to watch out, that bunny's tough. Good night to the lies and the truth he evades. Good night, Trump and his whole sad charade. Look what happened to the bunny. Now she's got the bed. And then here we have the afterword. Credits to the helpers. This book is dedicated to the children who have been separated from their parents and held in detention centers, refugee children who have been denied asylum, students killed by gun violence, and mothers and infants suffering because they still lack access to health care, and to parents who've struggled through so many difficulties. We hope Goodnight Trump helps you regain your sense of humor and say good night.